empires rise and conquer. In the wild phase of danger, carry on to the victory. You better take a deep breath. Each stone it brings a bitter fight. Another chill may run down your spine. Fear lurks beyond the edge of sight. Carry on to the glory, to the great victory. Never give up till you die. Never give up in this life. For every word that you win bright, it's time to become. Never give up on your mind. Hold your weapons, strive and fight. For every kingdom that falls and rise, it's time to become legendary. Get yours for sharpening your knife. Make way to find your destiny. Worship a man or a shrine. Can both recall a scattered. In the wild town of wardrobes, tearing down all the enemies. You better capture the arcs. The carriers may bog you down. You set up for the swiftest ride. Sneaky Texas work as your best ally. Carry on to the glory, to the great victory. Never give up till you die. Never give up in this life. For every word that you win bright, it's time to become. Never give up on your mind. Hold your weapons, strive and fight. For every kingdom that falls and rise, it's time to become legendary. Across the oceans, stories will be told. How you struggle, how you try to define the world. With a sacred name, you are the one chosen to start up the storm. Never give up till you die. Never give up in this life. For every word that you win bright, it's time to become. Never give up on your mind. Hold your weapons, strive and fight. For every kingdom that falls and rise, it's time to become legendary.
What is going on, Governors? Chiscool here, and today we're casting the Ark of Osiris Grand Prix. It's the Rise of Kingdoms Global Championships. And joining me is none other than Plato Gaming. Good sir, it's great to be casting with you again.
Indeed, it is always a pleasure to be casting with you, Chiscool, and this is the beginning of the main stage of the Grand Prix, so we should have some amazing matches coming up here.
That's right. This is a two-stage tournament, and we're on stage 2, baby. Stage 1 was last week. We did a ton of casting. All the casters, by the way, were split up trying to get as many matches as possible, and that was to qualify for this tournament here, stage 2. Now, stage 2 has the winners of each realm in the international servers. That's 4 teams. The winners of each realm in the Chinese servers. That's 4 teams. They advanced automatically. Last week, we spectated the teams that had to qualify. This included community teams. This included the teams that were 2nd, 3rd, or 4th in the realm. This was like their redemption moment to make it to today and beyond. Now, this is a double elimination tournament, and we're going to be spectating 2 matches in this stream, and it's just going to run all the way through. All right, this stream's just like apparently my screen. Plato, did you know I can actually reach through and say hello over there? Anyways, Plato, talk to me about the teams we're going to be spectating today.
Yeah, Chiscool, thanks for reaching over. But today we are watching HJK versus 466S. HJK, hailing from the international servers, being semi-finalists in the realm of Anubis. You might know them as Kingdom 1188. Kingdom 1188 have always been Osiris League powerhouses. This time finally making it, due to the new structure and new format, this time finally make it to the Grand Prix. They are going to be very, very excited to show their prowess. We saw in the Anubis semifinals that they fought against 93T. the eventual winners of not only Anubis, but the grand finals, that they gave 9-3T a run for their money. It was a very, very close match between those two teams. Some people naming that the actual final of Anubis. So HJK can be seen as one of the strongest teams in the international server. 466S from the Chinese server, they are also a very, very strong team. I mean, all the teams in this stage just are going to be very, very strong, as they had to go through so many hurdles and different oppositions to get here. But 466S, you know, being on par with GY16, some might say, it will be a very, very interesting test to see which server in terms of their relative strength is better, the international or Chinese server, with these two teams clashing today.
Yeah, 466S, the season 4 champion from the Chinese Anubis realm, and the season 5 champion of the Bastet realm. So two really powerful teams. And because of the two-stage nature of this tournament, I think all the games are going to be really, really hyped to spectate. Speaking of which, let's go to the games in just a moment here. Let's see. Actually, we have a few more minutes. Oh, good. We can talk a little bit more. Pluto, I thought we needed to jump right in. I actually thought I was a little bit late, but it's, according to what I've got here, another 4 minutes before we can jump into the game. So yeah, like I was saying, these games are all going to be really high octane. And that is because, unlike, I think, prior versions of the Grand Prix, the group stage that happened earlier with all these other teams really brought forward the best of the best. So you don't have the situation where you've got, like, you know, a champion team battling against a community team that is coming together for the first time, potentially.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, that new group stage, really called out some of the teams that might have made it to the Grand Prix due to the fact that they were the second seed of a realm, for example, or the teams that go in through, as you said, registration, which is the top powers, but they might not necessarily be as coordinated. These 16 teams that we're going to be watching are the best of the best in the world in Ark of Osiris. So these matches are going to be bangers all around.
Yeah, and what I like about this format is there's an upper bracket and a lower bracket. It's double elimination. So let's talk about that for a minute. So in these battles today, if you lose, you're actually not out. So everybody starts in the upper bracket. That's where you really want to be. But if you lose, you fall into the lower bracket, and you keep battling until you lose again. With a double loss, you are eliminated from the tournament. In fact, if you get all the way to the end for the finals, and one team will get all the way to the finals without having lost, we then play a 3-game series. It's the winner of the upper bracket versus the winner of the lower bracket. And if the winner of the upper bracket loses, then they get a whole nother game series that they can go and do, because technically that will qualify as their first loss. And it is a best 2 out of 3 for the finals, right, Plato?
Yes, it is a best 2 out of 3 for those finals. So it is going to be a lot of games if the winner bracket team loses against the winners of the losers bracket. They might have to play up to 6 matches against each other, getting very familiar with the strategies. But, you know, I think it is going to be really, really interesting, because sometimes some teams, there's one mistake that happens in Ark of Osiris that costs the team the game. We will definitely get to see the best of the best teams, even with those mistakes, having that one loss available for teams just in case the unthinkable happens.
Yeah, now I'm just trying to make my way into the game here, and I think I'll be able to do that now. Okay, there we go. Give me just a second. We pop in game HJK versus 466S. Okay, there we are. I am in game. Let me take you all with me here into the match 1 of the day. Here we go. All right. Game 1 in blue. Up top, HJK in red with the fancy banner, by the way, representing that two-time champion 466S. Do you think we're going to see any shenanigans at the start of the match? Something different, something unexpected?
I'm not too sure. It's going to be an interesting clash of styles. I've seen, at least last year, the international team, we have this international server meta where you kind of play the standard Desert Altar fights into this mid fight, but you know, it'll be really interesting as I believe the gates have already fallen, Jiskel.
Yep, gate on my screen has just opened. And here we go. Energetic for both teams. Very standard opener here. I think we should expect to see no big tricks, right? The only big trick is if you go for Master Strategist or you go for Sneaky Tactics. Plato, if you were making a team right now and you were the captain of the team, which of those two skills do you use?
I think Sneaky Tactics, with the way some of these top teams have been using it, is a top tier skill. The reason being is you can go building focus, send 30 marches mid, put Sneaky Tactics on there, and your opponents have no idea where you are, have no idea how many marches they need to escort the arc. So just having that in the back of your pocket, making your opponents just have to second guess how many marches they allocate towards that mid protection is always going to be worth it. So we've seen 489 win against 1E8 in the group stage of this Grand Prix here. So I would say that Sneaky Tactics is an S tier skill for teams that know how to use it properly.
Yeah, it creates that information imbalance, which I also really like the Fog of War for as well, where, hey, the people that are invisible, they know how many are invisible. They know where they are, but the enemy is left kind of wondering, what do we defend in this moment? Are they going to play the arc? Are they going to play the buildings? So you would take Sneaky Tactics. I also think Sneaky Tactics is a lot easier to deploy successfully than Master Strategist. Would you agree?
Master Strategist, though, is a very hype skill. When you see Master Strategist, you know something crazy is about to happen.
Yeah.
But I would agree that Sneaky Tactics is easier to employ, and even if you just want to use Sneaky Tactics for the extra attack boost, we've seen teams like 489 group up their Archer Marches together so that those Archer Marches can do AoE damage. It can be just used as a buff, so there is flexibility with Sneaky Tactics.
Well, in just a moment, we're going to be sort of zooming in on different parts of the battlefield here. At the start these days, I like to just stay zoomed out and look for any trends, and I didn't see anything in particular. Everybody sort of went in the way that I would expect, sort of swinging through their Shrine of War toward the enemy's altar. No, I think, unexpected attacks. Would you agree? Do you see anything we need to look at?
The only thing I see is the sentries from HJK. They put out a lot of sentries, which they should have full vision of the top side of the map. They have vision of the marches that for 66S are sending to the bottom side of the map. And if you look at that side of the map, Chisco, I feel like there are a lot more in the outer lane for HJK than for 66S.
I agree.
We'll have to see if that'll be some play on the Shrine of Life, and if that'll compromise the Desert Altar approach.
It does look like they are making a play for Shrine potentially. And this serves a double purpose. You protect Sky and then attack through to Shrine. And we do see one March did sort of sneak by here. So that Belly Prime is on his way probably to go for Gatherers to take outposts.
HJK actually sent an obelisk rally with cavalry, and you could kind of see marches around 466S's obelisks denying the front teleport spots, especially on the top side of the map. But the initial murder ball is here for the Desert Altar. As we were talking about, there was more allocation for 466S around their home Desert Altar, absolutely destroying the murder ball of HJK. Topside, it is a lot more competitive. I feel like 466S is pushing towards HJK's Desert Altar, and I don't know, this is going to be a pretty interesting fight as a lot of these HJK marches are starting to sad face here.
Yeah, this is actually backfired, I would argue, in a very major way for HJK. And this goes back to a military principle. Are you familiar with Lanchester's Law?
I might have to Google Lanchester's Law.
Well, don't worry, I'll fill you in. You're gonna learn something new today. This is actually, if you're watching, consider subscribing. This is where you get the big info. Lanchester's Law basically states that a military's force and the number of remaining units will grow exponentially as you have more units if all other things are equal. So what that means is that when 466S dominated about half as many units that HJK had sent, they're basically still full strength almost when they swing in to make this attack. So taking the sort of numbers that HJK had and fighting them half at a time and then half at a time gives them an exponential advantage. And you just see it. They're crushing this. Now they go for the garrison, potentially. And I think they're going to see a lot of success taking this. And HJK did take this shrine. So this is very important. If they end up losing Altar, they'd better lock in that shrine to see if the risk was worth it.
Yeah, I mean, the 466S with the inner lane play, demolishing that murder ball around their home Desert Altar, sending all of those marches to the Sky Altar. And, you know, for those that are new to watching Arco Osiris, the reason why they're targeting these altars is because the first occupation on these, 750 first occupation points, is insane for you to give up to your opponents. That's 1.5k difference, because that's 750 points your opponents are gaining, 750 points that you should have gained that you didn't. With the continuous occupation of 150 points per minute, 466S is now putting HJK in a hard situation, because now they have to decide, do we go ahead and retake our Sky Altar rather, or do we go mid? Luckily for them, there isn't a garrison in that Sky Altar, as the marches did walk from their home Desert Altar. So they should be able to swarm this down with the Huaki Bing serving as a pseudo garrison. But still, HJK with them getting demolished around that Desert Altar, as you were saying, it's so devastating because they have to walk from base. It's so early into the match that they have to walk from spawn to wherever they need to go. Looks like they are starting this mid rotation with 5 minutes to go until arc spawns.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that 466S, they're like, can't decide. Are we staying or are we going? And I think they're going at this point. I kind of wanted to see them stay and try to hold this, to be honest. But you're right that like they don't have a garrison. This was an improvisation. And ultimately, all of this was like interesting play at the start, but no one side has an advantage, probably, going into this mid fight. I will say maybe there's a bit of a time delay here inflicted on HJK. In fact, I think there is. I think this is going to cost them middle presence. Although, look, I mean, these guys in 466S are stuck behind too. I don't know. What do you think about what just went down here?
I think the murder ball that got wiped from the Desert Altar just rotated mid. There is a lot of HJK presence towards this middle of the map here. I think both teams are going to go for this first arc for that tempo advantage, or the control of the tempo rather. Because, you know, as you know, Chisco, when you capture that first arc, you have the ability to either score it right away so that you can make it an arc game and force 3, 4, perhaps 5 arcs, or you could try to hold it for as long as possible so that you could make it a 2 arc game and focus on those buildings in the meantime. HJK on the map, they look like they look like, at least to me, that they were able to stabilize the buildings quite and even take over the Desert Altar of 466S. So they would like the status quo to continue, but as you can see, there's a lot of 466S marches rotating mid, actually ignoring their own Desert Altar. so that they could send everybody mid. So
They have to
466S going full mid, just trying to make sure that they get control of this arc, and hopefully from that, control of the game.
Yeah, this is kind of weird. So you've got these marches from HJK attacking through, and they're trying to create these situations where they outnumber the players running to the middle, which is happening. So this serves a double purpose. They took the altar, and now they're actually meaningfully impacting the ability to go middle. This is a very good play from HJK. Ooh, interesting.
Yeah,
and they backed out of middle too. You saw how far forward they were, and HJK backed out. Wow.
Yeah, they're playing. They know that they have a numbers disadvantage. I think HJK are gonna go for the building strat. You could see a lot of marches in these outer lane structures. There's a bunch of people trying to swarm down the Shrine of Life. There's a bunch of people attacking the Sky Altar. So they're definitely seeing that 466S have gone full mid, and our problem, I would not be surprised if they choose to do some form of sneaky tactics if they have that skill up. We saw Dust Up used by HJK though, so we'll have to see what they choose to do as they do not have the numbers mid right now.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it, but 466 now is the aggressor in the middle. And it's funny because they were not first, but they are really pushing here. I mean, it's just full chase, which is, again, a little bit weird because you got like half the group kind of left behind. So whatever HJK is up to here, they got to figure it out fast. There's only so much more running they can do. And they decide to turn, which I really like. I like this turn because you can see the sort of feint they did there has left a smaller number of 466 players exposed. Bog down's in, Dust Up active now on both teams. Total Vision is in. Ooh. Do you have a preference between the Bog Down and the Total Vision?
I don't think Bog Down is effective if they don't use Heaven's Grace, in all honesty, Chisco, because Bog Down, as you know, slows down the movement speed. But the reason why people use it mid now compared to before they never used it is for that healing reduction. It doesn't really, it is effective for the marches that have healing, but it looks like it won't matter because of the sheer numbers of 466S sad facing HJK back home. But if we look at the rest of the map, Chisco, all of the structures are blue. This is what HJK traded for that mid presence. They traded structure control, and I think it'll come down to how 466S stabilizes their structure after capturing this arc, and if they choose to capture the arc right away, or if they want to hold.
I agree. At this point, the trick has been revealed. It's a building game for HJK, at least at the start. And if there's a time to do it, this is it. This arc is worth the least. And if you really are in control of the buildings enough, you kind of force the other team to score more arcs anyways. So they can get more arc opportunities. So I like this play from HJK. Now we just see if it works out. How do you feel about the commitment of points to the middle? Six points used by both teams here. So HJK used the same amount of points, but they left without an arc. Do you think that's a problem?
I think that ideally, this is where I would say Sneaky Tactics comes and becomes such a useful skill. Is you could use Sneaky Tactics on the marches, and then that forces your opponent to not know how many marches are middle and kind of second guess their commitment middle. I think that fight with the numbers disadvantage that you have was kind of not the best situation for them, using the same amount of points as their opponents, as you said. So they didn't really gain anything from that mid skirmish. They didn't delay the arc. The arc is still going at pace, so there isn't really too much to gain from that, Jisco, where I would have loved to see some form of Sneaky Tactics and kind of just poke down this arc slowly but surely. And that's what we've seen some of the top teams do, is they have 3 marches, come out of stealth, make the arc carrier drop the arc, then do it again when the arc is picked up. So it's always this annoying 3 marches just killing your arc carrier. The approach that they did was a straight up mid fight, which I would not suggest if you don't have the numbers.
Yeah. I think the only reason you mid-fight the way they did is that you don't want all those marches leaving the middle still full health, I guess, was the sort of trade-off they made. That's the upside they gained by virtue of popping skills. And I suppose, you know, like Dust Up, for example, it applies globally, right? So some of those skills give you advantage all throughout the map, but that advantage is, as I've been sort of looking around here, quickly being lost by HJK. From a points per minute standpoint, still 740 to 130 is terrifying. That is huge. But they've lost a couple of those structures that they captured now. So it's really not as long of a point advantage as I think they were hoping for when you go for the building game, but it might still just be enough. I mean, 130 is brutal points per minute.
Yeah, the points per minute for 466S is absolutely brutal. They're not gaining any points outside of their obelisks, and their outposts are holding it down for them, Chisco. No altars, no shrines currently making points, although the desert altar, the home desert altar at HJK will actually be the one structure that will start generating points, and it is being taken down by HJK as we speak. So I actually think the game state definitely favors HJK in this situation, even though it wasn't a perfect execution mid. You would definitely want to be in HJK's shoes in this situation, just being able to kind of have a stable structure game here. And we'll have to see how 466S comes back from this. Although I will say it is an even game state, and they have control of when the arc will be captured. So we'll have to see how they take control of the timer, and if they'll be able to catch HJK perhaps off guard with the next arc when it does spawn. I
feel like 466S did a really incredible job here, achieving some amount of stabilization to the scoreboard. It's now 440 to 210, and they actually have an altar. Well, they had an altar advantage briefly. So I think they've done a good job considering, but scoreboard is tough.
Scoreboard is tough. I mean, I will say there are some provisioners from both teams. I think with the way this game is going, it might come down to that. The arc is worth 3k. It is 8.3 to 5.3, so we're actually at an even game state as we speak, Chesco. Both teams just showing that, hey, we're gonna, if you want to go full mid, we could go full structures. And 466 saying, okay, you went full structures, we can take back our structures as soon as we come back from mid. So both teams having an answer for each of the other team's strategies. It'll all come down to who executes better.
How many arcs do you think HJK goes buildings?
I think HJK will full commit for this second arc. I don't see, with how that first arc went, I don't see a world where HJK just kind of sacks the middle again. I think they will try to commit for the second arc. I mean, we'll have to see how 466S retaliates, because I feel like HJK is kind of playing this style where they're revolving around what their opponents are doing. Their opponents went full mid, so they're like, okay, they already have the people mid, we're going to go structures. I think they're going to adapt based off of what 466S wants to do, because 466S just captured the arc, Chisco, so there will be a third arc in this match. We'll have to see how each team prepares for it.
Yeah, I think that HJK really forced the issue here, and it created a situation where 466 had to cap to get more arc opportunities, because they're afraid. They're afraid that if this is a 2-arc game, it's a problem, right? Like,
yeah,
the 2-arc game gives buildings more relative value compared to a 3-arc game or a 4-arc game, where arcs have more relative value. So I think going for a 3-arc game is a great call for them in this situation.
Especially when your opponents control 4 of the altars, Chisco. This is an incredible offensive from HJK. And you know, I think that question that you said, what arc or if does HJK go mid, I think it really depends on the lead that they build in between now versus when arc spawns. If they have a 3k advantage or 2k advantage going into this mid fight, I think they'd be comfortable just relying on the building game. But if they're still around like that 1k mark and it's relatively close, they might consider going middle here.
Yeah, it's hard to say what's going to happen. I would not have expected HJK to be able to continue to push the building so well. So this, I would argue, is about as good as the building strat can kind of go. I mean, they would have liked to have held on a little longer. They would have liked to have gotten some initial captures maybe. But, you know, we're looking at games. Every single game we cast moving forward is almost like a finals quality game. So, like, there's only so much you can expect to eke out an advantage in a finals quality game from buildings, right? Like 4-6-6S, they know how to take these buildings back, and that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, these are the top of the top teams. I will say, Chisco, one of the big discrepancies I see in buildings is HJK is able to get a garrison in every building they capture. For 4-6-6S, we haven't really seen too many offensive garrisons, which is why they haven't been able to hold on to HJK's home structures as much as you would want them to. Even when the mid rotated towards their desert altar, they had a Huaki Bing garrison in there, which is not ideal. And to everyone at home, for the Grand Prix, all of these accounts are dev accounts. They're playing in a different server, so they have all of the commanders available, all of the equipment available, all of the same armaments available. So it just comes down to having one march, just one person bring a forward garrison to these structures. We'll have to see if they could improve that, because I feel like their game here would have been a lot more even instead of down 1k.
Yeah. As I watch kind of what's happening here, and I'm locked in on this Shrine of Life to see if HJK's got the punch to push through, I feel like this 1,300 point advantage, it just looks better and better for HJK.
Yeah, it is. They do have some flexibility, Chisco, where they can choose to go buildings. I do think they have to, like, they can't give Arc for free. Obviously, they have to show face in Arc. But they do have the flexibility of, if they do want to use that sneaky tactics play, just 30 marches in the middle here, just denying Arc from being free, they can go buildings. They have the flexibility to do so. Because, you know, as you know, Chisco, if you have the lead in Arc of Osiris, you definitely have the onus. You have the flexibility of winning how you want to, and your opponents have to respond. That 1.3k advantage isn't insurmountable, but it is something. So we'll have to see how 466S responds to the lead that HJK has built for themselves.
Yeah. Being in the lead creates options, and being behind means that you can be a lot easier to predict. So we know that 466S has to go middle, but we don't know what HJK will do. And that's very awkward, because it means that HJK could actually just go full buildings right now instead of going middle. And either way, 466S has to go middle. They have to get this arc. So they don't know. Do they leave armies behind to defend the structures, or do they assume that HJK is going to be middle and match up, right? So if they pull too much defense out of their structures, then they may be facing down the same building situation we saw last time. So that's the issue with being kind of behind on the leaderboard, is that they have to go middle, whereas HJK has options. Now, based on what we see, when we say HJK, they're just going middle, right?
HJK, it does look like both teams are committing middle. I feel like you could see the dots on the map here, Jesco. There isn't that many. They're barely, maybe like 3-4 marches in the outer lane compared to what we saw for that first arc fight, where there were like around 10 marches just marching towards the Shrine of Life, marching towards the Sky Altar with a rally. So it looks like both teams here are going to be committing to this mid fight here. So this could mean the game for both teams, because they're dead even pretty much in points per minute. The only difference being the outpost being captured by one sneaky Joan of Arc. Everything else is generating points for both teams. So we'll have to see if HJK will be able to answer 466S's mid fights, as last time they were outnumbered, or if 466S, that first mid fight win wasn't a fluke and they can win straight up against HJK.
Well, only a minute 40 left till the arc spawns in. We get to enjoy a little bit of siege action here. Setting up to go pew pew at the temple. Kind of a bold position. Oh, wow. I mean, I wonder if this march isn't almost here in part just to bait the folks in HJK to go a different direction. And that does seem to be a little bit of what's going on.
Both murder balls here just staring at each other, staring at the 1v1 this what keeping and Siege March is having, as both teams now going in to the death used by 466S, Bogdown used by 466S, HJK with the Heaven's Grace, Bogdown, and Dust Up. So it is to the death versus Heaven's Grace and Dust Up. Wow,
I think
the sad
somehow
faces
you're
are
a solid
flying.
30 seconds ahead of me there. But we're seeing on screen now exactly what you called.
I'm a predictor of the future, Chisco, I guess.
You are living in the future, my friend.
As we start to see the sad faces coming out from both marches here.
So now you really like the use of Bogdown for that healing
100%,
disruption that you were talking about.
Yeah. I mean, Bogdown is going to be way more useful for 466S than it is for HJK, because to the death makes the units that are hit by to the death not heal. So the healing reduction of Bogdown doesn't even apply to 30 of the units which have to the death, because they weren't healing in the first place. It is practically 4 skill points or 3 skill points that is void by the fact that their opponents used to the death, which is represented in this mid fight. 466S just taking full control of that fight.
Yeah, and you would attribute that in no small part to the skill selection.
Yeah, skill selection, as I think both teams had all of their marches there. So I would definitely say skill selection was a huge part to play in that.
Yeah, I mean, to the death, doing exactly what it's there to do. And that means that they're still in it, right? Like if HJK took this arc and held it, what could 466S have done? Not a lot. They got to try to take some buildings against the team that's been rocking buildings the entire game, right?
Yeah.
So this game is on still, and it honestly leaves HJK in kind of an awkward spot. HJK 4 or 5 marches on the carrier. Hold up.
Oh no.
Hold up.
No
Wait
way.
a minute.
There's no way we're watching another one of these.
We're watching. Look, these guys aren't even looking. They're just walking away. Hold up.
Who picks it up? HJK with the pickup. XY walking. Oh my gosh.
I think you're still 30 seconds ahead, my guy. But the pickup is happening on screen.
This is... I mean, Chisco, we've seen this. Even in the top of the top. We've seen this in the finals. JST versus 1093.
Are they going to get away with this?
The day.
Okay, carrier is now down. But there's still 4 marches here. And they're just cooking in the field. Where is the support for HJK? This one player is living their best life and is fully unsupported.
They have an agreement, Chisco. It's a 1v1 for the arc. One player for each team. This is insane. HJK are scrambling in the bottom side of the map, just trying to pressure the Desert Altar forces. This arc is up for grabs when it was completely in 466's favor.
I don't know if it's a good thing, though, that HJK picked up the arc, because it reset that 15-minute timer.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I mean, this game state is absolutely volatile. We said that HJK had control of the match, which they did, but with the fact that they went full middle,
new ambush on the carrier.
This is the reason why this is happening, because they were not able to get a building advantage. They have to go for this arc to regain control, and everyone's scrambling for this Arc of Osiris, Jiskel.
Oh my gosh. If enough HJK gets to this position now, they might be able to do this. I'm kind of zoomed out to see, like, are they? And they kind of are on their way. There's two things that have to happen here, right? Technically, three. Take down the 466S carrier, take the Desert Altar for yourself, and then take the arc to score it. That is a tall ask right in front of the cities of 466S. And the number of times we saw this casting, at least I saw this casting last week, was 0. And it's been a long time. I mean, how many attempts like this work out? 1 in 20?
In this situation in the map where you are literally a 30-second walk away from the closest city, it's just going to be a battle of attrition for HJK. They might have the units now, but the units for 466S are going to consistently be streaming in and in and in into this match here. So I think, although it was interesting and 466S kind of gave control to the arc to HJK for a little bit, at the end of the day, they will be able to control this arc. But in response, they should be able to take this Desert Altar because of the amount of pressure that they're putting on the Arc of Osiris. So
the only way
they weren't able to take that arc, they were able to take the Desert Altar, flip a couple points towards their direction.
Yeah, and that arc is on its way now to safety. Oh boy. It's like I said, it's like a 1 in 20 at best to pull off a play like that. I'm not saying it's the wrong play to make. It's just uncommon to succeed.
Yeah, Chisco, that's one of those plays we were talking about, sneaky tactics versus master strategy. That would be a master strategies play, because you got to teleport marches in, or you got to teleport the march out.
And are they going to just score this arc? No.
They might.
They're going to hold it.
Yeah, they should hold it.
I agree. 100%. I think I agree. Scoreboard is close enough that I think that's worth holding. But it's like not so clear, is it?
It really depends if they could stabilize their structures. If they can take back this Desert Altar, they could hold the Shrine of War, which looks unlikely. They should be able to be confident with their building game, and then the arc being able to, just coast them into victory. Chisco, though, there are 10 plus gatherers. I just saw this now. There are 10 plus gatherers that just came out from 466S. So they are probably going to hold this arc, look at those gatherers, and score the arc with the gatherers so that they could, get that advantage over HJK. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plus gatherers on the map for these guys. So they are perfectly comfortable just being able to hold the arc, hold control of the game, and hopefully hold their structures towards a win.
Wow. This is, I think, given the provisioning, favorable to 466S at this point. No doubt about it. The onus is fully on HJK to do something. I just don't know what that something could even be at this point. And it gets back to
100%.
what I was sort of describing earlier, that like, hey, it's kind of a problem to keep picking up that arc and resetting the timer. How much time will they actually have? I mean, there is still enough time for another arc, right?
Yeah, I think for sure. Oh,
it'll spawn in, but like, if it's fully contested, it might be hard to cap before the match ends, even if they get it.
Yeah, I think it will be a pretty close one for that third arc. Although it will spawn. They do have farm killers, you know, going towards just trying to disrupt the gathering as much as possible. So they do have an idea that the gathering's happening. They have not started gathering themselves, so they are confident in the building game, I guess, and the fact that they could win a third arc, even though they have lost the first and the second one. Maybe they have a to the death or something for that last arc, something in the bag for it, but it's gonna be so close. Just
only one skill left, right? Like, that's it. We don't know what it is. It's either to the death, right, or master strategist, I would assume.
Yeah, I would assume the same, because if they had sneaky tactics, they would have used it, I believe, in that first arc where they didn't have the numbers there.
Yep. Man,
it's such an interesting game, because I feel like HJK was in the driver's seat until that second arc where they went full middle. Because, you know, if you match your opponents for the same objective, if you give the same amount of pressure your opponents do, and your opponents win that objective, then you come out with nothing, which is exactly how 4-6 Success has been able to take control of the game, even with the point disadvantage here. They're down by 2.8k. This arc, arc's getting swarmed down, by the way, which just go by 5 marches that look like they kind of snuck in, but looks like the arc carrier.
They're all low health. They're not getting anywhere, even if they take out the carrier.
It shouldn't be a threat.
It's not a threat, and the real issue is that they really don't want to reset this timer again.
I will let you. I'll let you see it. Just go.
Yeah.
I'm from the future.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, so this XY is going to pick this thing up and reset the timer. This is a huge problem if it lives long enough. Oh wow. For 1 second, he picked up the arc, and now they have gifted 4-6 Success the ability to have no more arcs after this one.
Now there won't be a third arc. Yeah, it's pretty much guaranteed that there won't be a third arc, because the timer resets. There's 15 minutes until they have to put it in, until they have to cash in the arc, rather. So that'd be like 5 minutes left in the game. It's gonna be, I don't see a way that 4-6 Success cash in this arc early with the gift that HJK gave them here. HJK, they now are in panic mode. They have to be just trying to attack these altars and trying to flip them, trying to hold on to their lead. And to be fair, throughout this whole time, they've been able to accrue a 2.9k lead, but the arc is still in 4-6 Success's hands. That's 3.5k. They have around 8 gatherers out there that could be around like 1k 2k points, so
easily
it's looking dicey for HJK.
It's 20 minutes left, but so hard to say who's going to win. The points per minute being even is the real issue for HJK right now. When they were 100%. Getting a 300 points per minute lead, like if they could sustain that through the end of the match, they're good. But they don't have that lead now. Not in the points per minute. And so even though they've got almost 3k points of lead, the arc is worth more than that. And the gathering will certainly be worth more combined.
Yeah, this is... I mean, it's going to be a battle we have to take a look at these altars, just because these altars are going to make and break the game for HJK and 466S. If the altar flips to HJK, even for a little bit, there's a chance. But if 466S are able to hold these altars throughout the rest of the game, they have an automatic win and are 1-0 in the main stage.
Yeah, I mean, the 466S is even going on offensive here on these altars. So they're so comfortable defensively. Although, this desert altar getting swarmed. They're so comfortable defensively, they're going on offense. Should they be that comfortable defensively? I'm not so sure about that. Maybe.
I don't know, Chiskel. I mean, they are March swapping like crazy. This is top tier Arc of Osiris gameplay, where it looks like a structure is going to flip. Then you have marches just streaming in. You can see low marches coming out of the structure, healthy marches going into the structure. This is textbook defense by 466S, and they're playing for essentially their win here with this Desert Altar attack. If this Desert Altar flips, the game is up in the balance. Every single time an altar flips, Jiskel, it's 300 points at least taken away from you, because it's 2 minutes of you not generating points, and that continues to grow as your opponents hold the altar. So 466S, knowing how close this game is, are just holding on for dear life to this Desert Altar. It looks like for most teams, this altar probably would have flipped a little bit, like a little while ago, but 466S, with the double C marches, with the Caesar marches, we call it double C Caesar, triple C, just running into 466S's Desert Altar, able to defend, and that is, going to be absolutely huge for them if they're able to hold this.
Oh man, it is an incredible defense here. I feel like this is one of the best we've seen. 99.9% of teams do not hold the garrison with that kind of pressure, and by a matter of what must have been only thousands or hundreds of troops, they've managed to sustain that. That is really a spectacular defense from 466S. Wow.
That is a game-saving, a game-winning hold for them if they're continuing to do it. And there's still 15 minutes left in this match, Jiskel, so right now it's a 3.2k lead. If you count to the arc being captured, which is 3.5k, that would be 300 points towards 466S. Without the gatherers, they just need to continue holding these structures, and they will be good, but they have to hold on to them for another 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an HJK and you ran that kind of an attack while 466S was attacking you, and you still don't take the structure, they've got to be worried in voice chat now in a way that they were not before.
Yeah, I mean, this will come down to their poise and their leadership here. If they could stay calm, cool, and collected, try to follow the calls up here. We see that they know that both teams know that there's no arc fight happening. They should start using skills, and I think they will soon, just to try to gain a leg up against each other here.
Hollow square formation on this rally with the Pakal secondary, Skippy A primary. You don't see that every day. There's the dust ups.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they're even trying to attack the shrines now. They like in this top side of the map that you're watching, they're not even going for the altar as much. They're trying to find the gaps in the defense of 466S, knowing that even though it's not the best structure, it is still 80 points per minute, 160 points when you flip the structure. They need to find and chisel out these objectives and these advantages any way, shape, or form. Like, you could see that even the outposts having 1v1s here, just trying to find those advantages. It is tooth and nail for both teams for these points, and I'm starting to see HJK now starting to provision, but we saw that 466S started provisioning maybe 20 25 minutes before that. So it is looking dicey for HJK, especially due to the fact that their offenses here have been thwarted for the most part.
Yeah, I would say due to the nature of defense being easier than offense, purely because of the walk distance, it made a lot of sense for 466S to send out the provisioners when they did. Right? As soon as they're like, okay, we just hold our structures and win the game, then yes, sending out the provisioners made sense. To see HJK send out provisioners is alarming for them, because that means we don't really think we can get more structures, or if we can, we kind of need to do it with less and get lucky, which I don't know that luck is enough here.
Yeah, it's quite daunting to see how many blue dots are out in the middle of the fields, out in the middle of the desert of Osiris, just desperately looking for caravans. It's an interesting sight to see because their offenses on these buildings have not been successful. I think Double C will probably be the MVP of the match for 466S alongside Eleanor Garrison. Eleanor is looking absolutely like a beast in Ark of Osiris as a Garrison here.
466S even taking a shrine on offense. This is really problematic for HJK. That's a big take right there on that shrine.
Absolutely huge. And the longer they hold this, the better it is for them. If they hold it for the 2 minutes and it starts generating points for them, that is absolutely wraps for HJK. And that's the problem, right, Chisco? Is sometimes the best defense is a good offense, and they saw the timer of HJK. They wiped the attacking marches of the Sky Altar and probably just pushed towards the Shrine of Life, able to take it with little resistance. And if you're HJK, losing structures is not what you want to be doing right now, especially since you are down in terms of points.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a game that's so close it might be defined by hundreds of points. So this loss of this building is actually a milestone in this matchup.
Yeah, it is absolutely huge. It's probably one of the it is the first shrine or desert altar that flipped within the past 10 minutes. And if you wanted a structure to flip, you would want it to flip if you're HJK. You would want to flip one of 466's structures rather, because you are the one that needs to claw back into this game. But the fact that it is still in 466's control, and it might even start generating some points,
it's pretty big.
Going to be huge.
I mean, 140 points per minute diff here is exactly what 466S needs to just grind out the W.
And this is looking more and more like a 466S control. And the thing is, it's such the margins are so close, Chisco, but the control feels so strong for 466S. Usually you see a game like this and you're like, oh, it's anybody's game, you know, either team could win. But 466S, with how successful they've been in holding their structures, it's looking more and more like they have full control of what's going on.
I mean, it's so funny because compared to the start of the match, this is like night and day. Like at the start, you'd have said HJK looks like they're just in complete control. And in the second half of the match, you'd say, man, it looks like 466S is just in complete control over what's happening here.
And I feel like there was a switch for 466S where they go full into whatever they're going into. You know what I mean? Where they went full arc, so HJK was able to get advantage from buildings. They went full arc again, HJK went full arc with them, and 466S were able to win that arc straight up against HJK. Ever since then, they've been able to go full buildings because they've had control of the arc. They've had control of the game essentially since they've gotten that arc. And now that all of their resources are going towards these buildings, it is looking like clockwork for them. These swarms probably aren't even phasing them with how much they've been defending just Ethelfleds and Double C's running into the structure, keeping it full, keeping it topped off. And that's all they really need to do right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is really the sort of gameplay where very small things could be the difference maker. Like even just the talent selections, the hero combos that are being used actually could have swung the match one way or the other on some of these swarms, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I will say Shrine of Life was taken by HJK, so they were finally able to flip a structure to their favor, but at this point, the Shrine of Life is something, but you could see outside of that Shrine of Life, there are literally 5 provisioners coming out as, you know, they just know that if they provision, if they hold their structures, they will be safe and they should win this game.
Yeah, HJK needs more, and I don't know that they're going to be able to find it.
As, you know, I feel like there is just so much control. There's no way that a third arc spawns now, even if they capture. So, and as I say that they did capture the arc, there should be an absolute, there should be absolute control for 466S here, because they are now up by 900 points rather, with a ton of provisions around. Now you can see HJK and 466S starting to spam their skills around the map, just trying to hold on to their leads here.
Yeah, when that arc got scored, it really cemented in the reality that 466S is winning.
Yeah. And Chisco, I don't know about you, but these top games, if you see a 1k point differential, even if there's 6 minutes, you could say that, oh yeah, you know, there's a chance. But 466S have been down by points technically, if you look at the scoreboard this whole time. Now they're finally up, but it's been in 466S's control, and there hasn't even been a question since they captured that arc. And that just shows the quality of 466S here, just being able to take control and take advantage of the control that they have, hold their structures down like a fort. My goodness, playing against these guys during KVK must be a pain with how much they were reinforcing their structures. This is textbook from 466S.
I've got to say, both teams here are truly impressive. I mean, this is finals quality gameplay, and it's round 1 of stage 2 of the tournament. And there's, what, like 10 rounds? 8 rounds? I don't know. There's a ton of rounds between now and the finals. So this is just really, really impressive, the way these teams are playing. Yeah. And there is a lot at stake, by the way. The prizes and titles that get distributed are pretty impressive. So the champion gets a global champion trophy. The entire team, I believe, is getting trophies. It says, no, it's one for the entire team. Yeah, and then there's champion rings.
Yep.
You get a horde of flux scripts. You get champion custom city themes, champion medals, a commemorative avatar frame, commander sculptures in game. I mean, army expansion, speed ups. You get stuff for being the winner here. It's big.
Yeah, I mean, if any, I think the biggest thing is, well, the banner of your alliance, just, you know, proudly representing your alliance, your kingdom, your server at this point, with the international versus Chinese servers. But the custom city theme for the champions, the 489 city theme, is probably one of my favorites, just as an aesthetic. Well, they just released the boat, which is super cool. But outside of the boat, the 489 just flashing on top of your city is just absolutely astonishing. It's so cool to see. And you know, there's definitely a lot of pride on the line for both these teams, especially I would say for 466S. The international service kind of dominated the last Grand Prix with how they performed, and now 466S, the first matchup that we're watching between the two servers, being able to take subtle control of this game, they should be proud of themselves because of how they've performed. But we're getting closer and closer to this game ending, and it is still less than a 1K point differential. So I don't want to call it wraps just yet. I mean, we've seen
Nope.
for success.
We're all here for the
Provision
photo
more.
finish, right? Like, a lot can happen with the volume of provisioners on both sides.
Yeah,
It's a
there-
photo finish, and we'll only know in the final second.
Are camels. Camels are in high demand for both teams here, as I think I see 10 provisioners for both sides right now, just trying to find any semblance of points on the map, scrambling for points on the map. And it's funny because now we're actually not even seeing that many open field marches because both sides have been holding so well. So now everyone's just saying, all right, we'll send some open field marches to show face, but at the end of the day, most of the marches are now going towards provisions. So it is kind of funny how farming will be the deciding factor for both these teams. Oh my goodness, Shiskel. Oh wow, wait, I forgot. I'm ahead. But the point gap is shortening and shortening as the matches continue. Provisioners are starting to come in.
It's gonna be
I
a
will
photo
say.
finish, bro. Like, it's 200 point diff on my screen right now. It's gonna be a photo finish, 100%. Right now, HJK's winning, but we know that
Oh my
466S has
I'm
had
just
the
gonna watch on the
provisioners.
YouTube stream. I don't want to spoil. I'm gonna watch on the YouTube stream, Chiskel, because this is crazy how the provisioners are starting to come in here with 2 minutes left into this match.
Yep, now it's 466S in the lead on my screen by 500 points. I mean, it's the blow for blow on this leaderboard is unbelievable. The points per minute are even from structures. Like, this is the gameplay you're here for. And the crazy part is that I think at this point buildings do almost nothing. Like, you flip a building and it's like it represents 150 points now.
What is this? Master Strategies? What is? Oh, I keep forgetting in my head. There might be a play, Chiskel, that you'll see soon.
I mean, you drop it on the back line, kill the gatherers, I guess. I don't know.
I don't. This is interesting. Perhaps just for fun, just showing that they had the skill, but
okay.
it is around, as you can see, it is around the Sky Altar. So they're perhaps trying to flip the Sky Altar within the last minute here, although I don't think it generates points anymore, but man, this is... Provisioners are sprinting home.
They're in.
But
The master strategist play.
I think this is a for fun play, Chiskel. I think it's a victory lap because they know, they're confident with how they start provisioning 30 minutes into the game, essentially, Chiskel. They started provisioning once they got that second arc.
As soon as they were set up defensively, because they have the advantage of walk time, they provision and they just are in a great spot. But there it is. Oh, 1,000 points just chunk up on the board. Holy, I'll shout out when the match has ended on our viewing side here. 25 seconds left. But the points are just raining in now for 466S. And that's gotta be painful for HJK.
That is the advantage of provisioning earlier. They provisioned halfway through the match, Chiskel, which is how they were able to get this lead. And with 5 seconds remaining, it looks like it is 466S's matches to win.
Farming up W's here in the Osiris Grand Prix. There it is.
Dragon Lancer being the MVP commander just
I
shows...
He's always been the GOAT. Am I wrong?
He is the GOAT advanced commander in the game for sure.
Huge game here. Amazing occupation score for HJK. Genuinely astonishingly good gameplay from both teams. Genuinely impressive. But 466X, they emerge, and HJK has another shot. They make it to the lower bracket. 466S goes to the upper bracket, and they continue on. And now we go to a brief intermission before we spectate the next game, 732A versus 60GT. It should also be fire, so don't go anywhere. We're going to take a brief intermission. We'll be right back for the next game.
Hold tight, don't lose your way, chasing for the glory to the end. Don't run, be the one, bring all your dreams to the glorious kingdom. Are you hearing the voice of Seth call your name? Lost in the storm, hold your face and sword. Go fight a secret eye when this war will rise up higher. Reach for the sky, hold on to your weapons with pride. We'll rise up higher. Conquer the ark, get ready to fight for your life. We'll rise up, climb on, choose the highest ground. Off the pyramid of life, let the spirit get you high. 'Cause we are the kings, we are the queens, we will rise up to the top. Stand up, don't draw in the dust. The land of the sinners, the answer in your head. Hold tight, it's worth the try. Chasing for the glory in the fight. Don't run, you're the one. Bring all your dreams to the glorious kingdom. Are you hearing the voice of Seth call your name? Lost in the storm, hold your face and sword. Go fight a secret eye when this war will rise up higher. Reach for the sky, hold on to your weapons with pride. We'll rise up higher. Conquer the ark, get ready to fight for your life. We'll rise up, climb on, choose the highest ground. Off the pyramid of life, let the spirit get you high. 'Cause we are the kings, we are the queens, we will rise up to the top. Even when you fall, sticks and stones may break your bones, but you are stronger than the heaviest waves. The earthquake won't shake you, 'cause you are the king, you are the queen, you are the truth of the land. You rise up higher, reach for the sky, hold on to your weapons with pride. You rise up higher, conquer the ark, get ready to fight for your life.
All right, we're back for match 2. A brief intermission. Woo! This should be a fun one. We've got 732A battling against 5-time champion 60GT. What do we know about these teams?
If we look at 732A, which is from the Chinese server, they made it from the group stage of the qualifier stage of the Grand Prix in the Chinese server. So they actually made it through that play-in stage. They are a newer team in the Chinese server, but they're seen as a team with a lot of underdog potential, being top 4 in the Sobek realm in the Chinese server. But, you know, 60GT, if there's a team that could beat an underdog, 60GT is going to be one of those teams with how much control they've had in Anubis. You know, they've won Anubis for what it seems like forever. Essentially the last 4 seasons. They've won Anubis 4 times before, and the last time they didn't win Anubis is because they were in Basset, and they won that as well. So they have been Osiris League champions for quite some time, looking for that Grand Prix success. So we'll have to see if they will be able to take that first step against 732A.
I'm definitely excited for this match. I didn't get a chance to look at the leaderboards from the last round to see what happened in those other matches, but I heard it was spicy.
I will say that 489 ended up losing. The current Grand Prix champions lost against 27WP, which is, you know, quite the upset there. Instead of that, GV77 was able to, well, GV77 lost rather 293T in that match. I think those are the games that happened in that 14 UCC time frame so far, Chisco.
Wow. You win any Oryx?
I did not bet Oryx this time. It was so tough because these teams that are fighting right now, it is the champion of the realm versus a playing team, so a lot of the teams were favored. But as the match gets started here, I mean, we'll have to see if people will be able to cash in on these 60 GT Oryx, because this was a heavily favored match for 60 GT.
Well, energetic used by both sides is standard, and I expect we'll see standard. Do you think we're going to see a building game in this one?
A building game for this one? 60 GT is the type to play pretty. I mean, the standard was essentially built around 60 GT in the beginning of things, right? So they should be playing the international standard here. I would be pretty interested to see what 732A decide to do here, as you know, coming from the Chinese server, perhaps bringing some flavor and some spice into it. But from 60 GT side, I think it should be a standard building game. Contest the arc, hold the arc, and hold some buildings here.
Yeah, I think 60 GT generally plays for those arcs. And that's in part because in regular league play, you could bet your money they've got the equipment and armament advantage. Here, it's evened up. But I think all that experience playing for arcs means they'll probably do that again.
Yeah. I mean, it's worked for 60 GT for so long, so it should be a similar situation here. But I mean, we've seen some crazy strategies from the Chinese server, some things that we haven't seen in the international server that we're accustomed to. And I think that's what 732A will have to do, being the heavy underdogs. According to the bets, at least, they will have to employ some strategy to throw off 60 GT's game.
I think really there's no safe assumption at this tier of gameplay as to who's going to win. Obviously,
Yeah,
GT is favored, but anything is possible at this tier of gameplay.
100%. I mean, we've seen last game was probably the most textbook Ark of Osiris game that I've watched in a while, where it was essentially both teams doing things exactly right. It was just these micro decisions that ended up being the difference. We'll have to see if this game will challenge the game that we just watched, or if this will be a 60 GT stomp or an upset.
The only thing I see noteworthy in this opener, visible because we're so zoomed out, is that the Sky Altar from GT is very lightly defended, but there's no pressure onto it, interestingly.
Yeah, it's very heavily defended, not that much pressure. I will say the Chinese teams, I feel like, bring a lot of presence to these inner lanes. They have a lot of inner lane presence. We saw 466S do that last game. We see 732A do that this game. I see like 5 marches in the outer lane in that top side, maybe like 10 to 15 in the bottom side, but just a slew of marches just surrounding the desert altar, the home desert altar of 60 GT. So what will 60 GT do to respond to this?
You don't see it every day that GT is outnumbered at a structure like this. The fight begins. Let's see who gets the W on this.
it looks like we are finally around the same time, Chiskel here. So no spoilers this match.
Yeah, I think it has to do with when we start spectating. So I think we both made sure to spectate around that same exact moment. And we do see the Hera garrison just at the ready. That's sort of intimidating, right? You got like Hera standing on the hill overlooking the fight, being like, yeah, I don't need to be involved here. They'll take care of this.
It is.
I'll step in the garrison.
They are the president in this situation, just making sure that there's a garrison in there. Dominant so far in this inner lane from 732A.
And in the top lane.
Expected. And in the top lane as well.
You could just say dominance from 732A, actually.
There is some control of the Sky Altar that 60GT have in this bottom side of the map, so it's not complete dominance, but I mean 732A are already at the buildings of 60GT, just chilling, having fun. This is
makes you, it's almost like where are the 60GT marches?
Yeah, that was, I mean, what was that, Lancer's Law or something that you were talking about? It's looking like a similar situation, whatever you're talking about, Chiskel, where they just brought everybody into one lane, smashed that lane, are now rotating elsewhere and onto the map. So
Lanchester's Law, it's a powerful one. All other things equal, the side with more troops wins at an exponential rate. The more they have present, the more exponential and catastrophic that victory will be.
Yeah, this is going to be, I mean, 60GT, the Sky Altar that they did take will fall eventually. There's no backup garrison or garrison in there. So this Desert Altar, I feel like 732A could comfortably get that first occupation and still be decent for a mid rotation. You could see that they didn't actually sad face their cities sad face their marches into 60GT cities. They actually are sad facing on the marches that are trying to get back the Desert Altar. It'd be absolutely detrimental to 60GT if this Desert Altar falls, because that is 750 first occupation points taken away from your pockets and going into your opponents.
I will say, I asked the question at the start, will it be a building game or an arc game for 732A? And I think we've got our answer, Plato.
Building game. I mean, to be fair, there hasn't even been an arc to contest, so we don't even know if these guys are going to go for an arc game, because they've just been so dominant in the opening game. This is... I don't think I've seen a 60GT opening like this before, Chiskel. I don't know about you. You've been casting longer than me, but 60GT has been so dominant for so long, and this is an absolute slaughter, although at least they will have tempo going to mid.
Yeah, I mean, with the way this opener is going, 732A is the side of this equation you want to be on, but 50 minutes left. A lot can happen. It's just getting started, right? Like, certainly it's looking good for 732A, but we said the same thing of the last match we cast for HJK, and they did not win.
That is true. That is true. So, I mean, honestly, it felt like a little bit of copium there, Chiskel, and we're in the 60GT's voice comms, and we're lane lead just saying everything's good, but I mean, first occupation points is going to go towards 732A's side, and that's something that didn't happen last match. If we're referring the two to the two, so this is an absolute dominating opening. Able to get first occupation in Desert Altar, and I don't think their mid rotation will be stunted too much. There is still 4 minutes left until arc spawn. 60GT did get first rotation, but there is a sentry on top of the murder ball, so 732A know exactly what is going on in the middle for 60GT, and now they're starting to rotate over.
Yeah, I've been kind of cruising around the map to see, will there be action somewhere else? And I don't think there will be. Maps evened up, unlike the first game. where they held the buildings. Here, I think it is a mid fight in earnest for both teams.
Yep, this is looking like a full mid commit for both teams, and stabilizing. The 60GT able to stabilize, get their first occupation points taken away from them, which is the big discrepancy that we see right now. 3.7k to 2.1. First occupation on the Shrine of War still ticking for 60GT as well. But all things considered, whoever gets control of this mid fight, whoever gets control of this arc, will have control of the game. So it's not the end all be all. This is going, but this arc is going to mean a lot for both teams here.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm just watching the middle because the outsides are empty. Flat out. Empty.
There isn't even a dot. It is dust bunnies, a sentry, and some camels out in the outer lanes here.
Sneaky tactics.
Is the emptiest we've seen. Oh, sneaky tactics used. Let's see where. Whoa, okay.
Huh. They use sneaky tactics on the marches sort of making their way to the middle? GT Maris.
I'm curious. Oh, they used it as well. This time 60GT, we were talking about this earlier. They used it on the archer marches, and they're using sneaky tactics here 60GT so that one, their archer marches don't get instantly targeted, but two, the archer marches get the extra attack, because sneaky tactics only works on 30 marches. So they selected the marches that have the most AoE, the archers that do the most damage, the marches that do the most damage rather. So 60GT using sneaky tactics in kind of a buffing way towards those really high damage marches, as both these teams are now going to start staring at each other as we start to see a sentry tower placed by JT Towers 98.
Fight's about to begin. I do feel like those GT players were out of position. They back up to get into the ball again. You really want a clean engage here, which I would define as everybody attacking at the same time. And then boom, there we go. To the death for 732A.
Ooh, wow. This is
Bog
down used by 60GT. I mean,
how does that compare to the death, though?
But the bog down actually does not do much against To the Death, because To the Death already takes away the healing from your own marches. So
how did they have the points for To the Death? That was 9 points they just dropped with sneaky tactics.
Yeah, that is.
Oh, I guess yeah, they used dust up, sneaky tactics, and bog down. Interesting.
Yeah. Ooh, this is looking like a pretty even mid fight here, Chisco.
Yeah,
I'm seeing
I don't
so
know
many
who's
sad
winning.
faces, and I'm seeing so many sad faces. You would think that there'd be a clear winner, but because there's so many marches, there's still a lot of marches mid, even though there's been a ton of sad faces.
It's 732A. They've got the arc.
Ooh.
They've got the feels. They've got the opener. 732A is certifiably cooking this match. They woke up this morning, put on the chef's hat, and said, "We cook." Wow.
That was absolute dominance. I would not have expected the last march for 60GT to be the tower that was set up in the beginning. That is...
That's discipline, is what that is. That is discipline.
Yeah,
for the whole other team to be like, ignore the tower. And they're still ignoring it, which is jaw-dropping.
Yeah, I mean, absolute class by 732A, and that was a full commit from both teams. And we've seen in literally the last match we've watched, Jiskel, in the match we just casted, that when two teams go middle, the team that wins the arc has full control of the game. They have a 1.9k lead. They got first occupation from the desert altar. they have control of the arc, which is an extra 3k. So essentially 60 GT is down by 4.9k right now.
So GT making a big play onto this arc carrier. Arc carrier is somewhat available to be ambushed. 732A has moved their forces onto the Desert Altar, but they do not have vision to what is about to rock their world over here. They're just getting a taste of that now, so it is possible that GT can still do something with this arc. Arc carrier actually now changing direction based on this huge assault coming from GT, and those folks are making a beeline toward the carrier. Carrier is going to probably get knocked down here in just a second. Joan connects, double C. You know they're trying to move fast when they bring the double Cs.
They got the zooms on here. And I will say, Jiskel, there is not a slower march in Rise of Kingdoms. That infantry does not feel slower than an infantry march carrying the arc.
Yeah.
You will not see a slower march than infantry carrying that arc. And, you know, it was not an ideal arc carrier at all from 732A. But as this arc gets closer and closer and closer, it is going to be harder for 60 GT to contest.
I do feel like GT doesn't have enough.
Yeah.
Somehow.
I would agree.
It's like still not enough.
732A did something pretty smart. They murder balled in between the reinforcement marches of 60 GT versus the murder ball. Instead of sending all the marches to the murder ball, they've sent like maybe like 3-4 people towards that arc, but then they have this murder ball set up so that the marches of 60 GT, they have to choose if do we get free hit so that we can get to the arc, or do we fight the murder ball that's in front of us so that we can clear up some space. It looks like, you know, 60 GT were eventually able to win the murder ball outside of the Desert Altar, which was holding them back from the arc, but because of that, the arc is now uncontested.
Pretty impressive. Chat says 732A isn't even a realm champion, right? Crazy. Yeah, so 732A was top 4 in the realm of Sobek. And they won in round, or rather stage 1 of the tournament, which enabled them to advance to this stage of the tournament. So they're a newcomer with strong potential. And like, now you see it firsthand. If you didn't tune in last week for the streams, now you see.
Yeah, this is absolute class by 732A. Beating or currently, you know, in the lead against one of the best international teams. These were finalists in the international in the Grand Prix last season, so the fact that they have them on the ropes, have control of the arc, won the first mid fight, took first occupation of the Desert Altar. How does 60 GT come back from this, Jiskel? What's the steps that 60 GT have to take to claw themselves back into this game?
They gotta win 2 arcs. The only way is, I think, with 2 arcs, or they've got to really work buildings, which hasn't really worked out so far. I think they've got to have a 2 arc game here. So, or really a 3 arc game, 2 more arcs in their favor to get out of this hole that they're in, which is kind of incredible. Yeah, but hilariously, 732A is the one with hard push on the bar.
Wow. This is
you don't see that every day.
Not a skill you see that not a skill you see that often, Jiskel. That is interesting.
Yeah, so
Hard
GT needs
push.
to go buildings, but 732A is the one with hard push.
That is what an interesting skill to be using there. Let me go ahead and read out what hard push does for people that don't know. Hard push, when a rally is initiated, increases the march speed of friendly rallied armies by 50% and its damage by 30% for 600 seconds for 3 points. That is a lot of fast rallies and a lot of damage. 30% extra damage on a rally is going to be a lot of rallies. My goodness, that they are definitely going to hold this arc for as long as possible and try to flip some of these buildings, I guess.
Oh yeah. 100%.
Man. I mean, this is making me think I should have bet on 7328. The odds were so against them in terms of the betting odds.
That's why you always bet the underdog. It doesn't even matter who the overdog team is. You just always bet the underdog.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter who you're rooting for. It doesn't matter who you think you're going to win. The Oryx are so favored for betting underdogs, especially a match like this, that if you know, sure, most of these you spread your Oryx around, you're not going to win. But then the one or two where you do, you win so big, it's just unbelievable. Yeah,
this is absolutely, if it plays out the way that it is right now, this is absolutely going to be a huge payout for the believers of 732A. And honestly, the international server, I know most people are alliance based and they're fans of the alliances, but we have to keep in mind this is two servers clashing. The international server is kind of looking shaky right now at Chisco. We have 60GT on the ropes here, finalists of the Grand Prix last season. We had 489 lose to their last match at 14 UTC. So, you know, two teams that were seen to be as one of the top teams getting put down, although it was another international server team that did beat 489. This Grand Prix tournament, the first couple of games are not going to plan according to the bets right now.
Well, you know what I think is a part of it is that I think there's actually an astronomical advantage having played in stage one of the tournament, because it's just practice at an incredibly high level of play. That's my suspicion.
I will also say that I'm sure that the Chinese server teams are out for vengeance because of how last season ended up going for them. International teams were pretty dominant, honestly, in the last version of this Grand Prix last year. I've been told that the Chinese server teams have been practicing nonstop for this. They're treating it like an actual esport. They've been doing the daily practices or whatnot, practice sessions against each other, scrimming against each other. So, you know, playing to fruition, this team 732A, not seen as one of the best teams in the Chinese server, absolutely putting in the works on what was seen as one of the best teams in the international server right now.
Practice makes perfect, and if you're willing to put in the reps, you'll build the muscles to get those W's.
Yeah, that is 100% the case here, as Arc still being held. I mean, if we look at the game states, 60GT able to hold the Desert Altar of 732A, doing their best to get those win conditions and lessen the lead that 732A has. But man, this is it's an interesting game right now for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, I personally find games with more arcs are, you know, very exciting to watch all the mid fights. So we'll see if we can't get some really cool altar defenses to spectate. I suspect we will, kind of like in the last game where the reinforcements are just really impressive. GT having one of those moments right now where they're going to need to reinforce in that very impressive way if they want to hold this sky altar. Big swarm cooking this thing up.
Yeah, I mean, the double C's running in there. You see all of these cavalry marches, triple line formation marches, the ethelfleds. I mean, 60GT, they're trying their best, but it did end up flipping. So it's looking rough. Like I would, as you said, it will come down to this next mid fight. I think if this next mid fight goes to 732A's favor, 60GT's game is going to be all out of whack right now.
I think it, and Chad is pointing this out, it was pretty meaningful that GT did not mirror the skill usage of 732A in that mid fight. So theoretically, GT could be going into this fight with an advantage. And the advantage they would have is they still have to the death probably on that bar.
Yeah, I mean, I think 60GT came into that mid fight with a plan. We're going to be using this, and this skill. I'm not playing reactively, but, you know, having that kind of plan in place. And as you said, if they have to the death on the bar still, then 732A won't have it. You can only use to the death once per match, so...
Yep. They got to use it on the next arc, right? Like,
yeah, 100%.
This is what sucks to be behind on points, because now you're predictable. So I think it's very predictable that GT goes big on this next arc. I think it's very predictable that GT uses to the death.
Yeah, but I feel like 732A have all the flexibility in the world. They could sneaky tactics. We see that they have sneaky tactics. They could sneaky tactics this next arc. Just have marches there to keep 60GT honest, to make sure that 60GT have to keep a couple of marches mid and just go full structures. They have the flexibility to do so. So this is a must-win arc for 60GT, but it's going to be hard for 60GT to gauge how many marches they send mid versus how many marches they need to defend structures, because we don't know if 732A will go full structures.
Chad is speculating that both teams here are going to use a provisions-based skill. Do you think that's an option as the final skill on the bar? The caravan-based provisioning skill?
I mean, there are a ton of caravans out, so I wouldn't be surprised if they go for that 12-point middle play that we've seen sometimes, where there is a skill in Arkham Osiris where you get points for submitting caravans, and that allows you to use even more skills on your skill bar, that, you know, more than 10 skill points rather for a mid fight, which we've seen previously. This mid fight is going to be absolutely huge for both teams.
Oh yeah.
So using a trick like that is going to be 100% crucial for this.
I think at this point, things are fairly even-ish between these teams. I say ish because, well, we've seen some pretty impressive offensives here from 732A, and they're doing it again. They are just flambeing this sky altar over here. Light this thing on fire for all to see. I suppose technically the buildings don't burn in this game mode, but oh, GT's holding on.
They're trying to redecorate the banners for sure.
GT might hold this, actually. Wow.
Talking about gatherers, just this is, whew. Yeah, this is an absolutely huge hold for them. If this altar flipped, that would have been 300 points minimum taken away from them, and they need as many points as possible. This is still a game that 60GT could come back from, by the way. They are down by that 2.3k. They're down by 2.8 earlier, so slowly but surely trying to make that lead shorter and shorter and shorter. Woo! There is still 3k points in the pocket, but I mean, holding that sky altar is absolutely huge for them. Perhaps a morale booster.
But look, like, the marches are already lined up to hit it again, you know? Like, yeah, the action is coming so fast to the structure, it's hard to hold it back.
732A looks omnipresent. I don't know how they're able to get another group of marches here. I thought maybe it came in from the inner side, inner altar, inner lane from the desert altar, but they have units going towards the shrine of war rather as well. So this is just absolute class, where as soon as the march sad faces, it's just instantly out there in the field. Must be a lot of march speed out for these marches. You see a lot of cavalry marches out here as well. using the XYs, using the Belisarius Primes, just to make sure that you get out and about as fast as possible.
There is a Cav rally lead in the mix there. I saw Arabia was kind of looking in and trying to determine what troops there. See, somebody's Arabia's. They got a Cav rally lead in there. Have we seen Cav rallies though? I mean, Nevsky Justinian is super reasonable to send. That's for sure.
Not too. We've seen a couple Cav rallies. I've seen Justinian with Nevsky, as you said. But it is usually the CPO, CPO A with either Pakal, or we've seen Tariq.
They're even using Hollow Square for the survivability. This is something we saw last game as well. It's an interesting technical swap. You can make it because everybody's got access to the same building blocks, which means you've actually got a lot of sort of defensive capability on that Hollow Square rally.
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be painful to swarm with the Pakal. And the rally at this point, the main focus is so that it could tank the main damage of the garrison here. But it is getting poison stacked down, but I feel like they are reinforcing this rally. It is getting pretty low, but surviving there for quite some time. But it does look like 60GT have enough to defend the Sky Altar. And I mean, it's tough because it's good that they're able to defend, but at the same time, 60GT are the ones that are down. They're the ones that need to be aggressive. But it does look like 7328 just have them pinned down at their own structures right now.
100%. 100%. And in just a matter of seconds, this arc needs to be scored. There it is. I was going to say, they've got 7 seconds left. I know they're like waiting, but it would suck to not score it. Okay.
That would have been the most. I don't think I've seen a game where arc hasn't been scored. That would have been a low light of the century, but the discipline to just hold on for that last couple of seconds there. Yeah. That means mid will start spawning in 7 minutes 40 seconds here, and it will have to be an all-in from 60GT.
Yeah, I mean,
or at least them capturing the arc.
Still be a 2 arc game. It could be a 3 arc game. It all depends, and I think GT with To the Death needs to lock this next arc. And then once they have that, they got to turn around and come up with a combination of skills that wins them the 3rd arc.
Yes, sir. It's so tough because 60GT have to play this perfect, right? If they send too many people if they send too many marches middle, then 7-3-2A don't send marches middle and send them towards the structures. They just lose off of buildings. Like they have that lead where they could just lose off of buildings. The arc essentially evens up the game for them. They would actually still be down if the arc is captured. So it's it's like if the status quo happens, they would still lose. They need to pull off some form of defense on these structures while also getting control of the arc at a fast enough pace that they could capture the arc to force a 3rd arc in this game. It's going to be razor thin margins for these guys.
Tall order for 60GT in this game so far. A lot they got to get done. And it seems that the folks in 732A with the chef hats, they're ready to take orders. Like they've just been cooking all game. Speaking of, let them cook. March combos here are, I think, worth spectating for a moment. Looks like XY with Belly Prime is something both teams are using. Yep. So that means they're going for a 3 cav march configuration. The Huo with William, the Joan with the Nevsky, and the XY with the Belly Prime.
Yeah, that is the kind of norm, the kind of standard. XY with Belisarius Prime isn't really the march you'd use in KVK, but where March speed matters the most in this Archosaurus battle, it does do a lot. It does do a lot of damage, XY, with that AoE. Belisarius Prime, the debuff with Belisarius Prime, the target taking extra damage is just super good in Archosaurus, especially when you're swarming a structure, swarming a rally. So it has that utility, that debuff with the Belisarius Prime, while also doing a lot of damage. But most importantly, it's super speedy. So
Arc spawns here in less than 5 minutes. Also, another hollow square march is kind of interesting. I wonder what is pushing folks in the direction of hollow square, even for their open field infantry, as opposed to arch, which is what you typically see if you've got a Liu Cha involved, right? They're basically saying, hey, you know what? I just want to live. If I live long enough, I'll do enough damage. Whereas arch helps them eke out more damage.
Yeah, I think the infantry marches out in the open field are there to, you know, CPO debuff, Liu Cha debuff, and AoE damage, but to also stay alive to fill out some of these rallies. This one is a cav rally, so this one's going to be easier to fill because of the amount of cav marches out there. But, you know, just trying to keep that CPO debuff alive, I guess, that the health debuff is absolutely huge out in the open field. It is something that does get focused because of how powerful that debuff is. So just using that hollow square formation, I guess, to keep that thing alive, because the infantry marches, they do a lot of damage, but you have archer marches and you have cav marches out there that do a lot of damage as well, and they have those wedge formations. So
Chad is pointing out you are limited on the number of perhaps inscriptions and armaments for each formation, and so that is a part of what is driving some formation diversity here, but you love to see it either way.
Man, this mid rotation is so interesting. You could see that 60 GT have so much priority on this mid.
Oh yeah,
but
look at that.
If 732A, I'm curious to see if 732A decide to match this mid priority, which they did in that first arc, or if they just go structures.
I think they go structures and sort of hope that GT still uses to the death. Because if GT is got to the death in the pocket, they arguably should win that arc whenever they go for it. So in a lot of ways, if they show up to this mid fight, if GT uses to the death and all other things are equal, GT wins. And you can see people rotating out of the middle, actually.
Look at the amount of people going towards that Sky Altar. And this is what we were talking about. 732A, they have they have full control of the game. They decide where the fights are going to happen, when it's going to happen, because they have the lead. This is a huge murder ball outside in the Sky Altar, and this is miles away from mid. So 60 GT cannot reinforce the Sky Altar. It is almost but certainly going to go down, and that is going to spell disaster for 60 GT because they need as many points as possible right now.
Yeah, this is exactly the sort of thing you like to see from the overdog on the leaderboard anyways, is that they leverage that point advantage into a surprise play. And obviously GT having to leave the middle means they were surprised by this play.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this is what we're talking about. 60 GT have to play perfectly. They have to put the exact right amount of marches at each place at the right time. This time they over-indexed in mid. Now they're scrambling to the Sky Altar, but the Sky Altar is already taken. It is job well done. The Desert Altar also has been taken. The altar, 4 altars to none. And this is exactly what I was talking about, Chisco. They use sneaky tactics middle. 60 GT don't know how many marches they need to keep middle. Even if they use to the death, they're going to be using to the death against sneaky tactics marches that they can't see.
Does Desert Storm counter that? Does it take them out of stealth?
Desert Storm does take them out of stealth.
They can see them.
60 GT's counter.
What a counter play!
They can see it. So they had a counter to the sneaky tactics.
Wow.
We've seen a couple marches or a couple teams use Desert Storm here.
What
they're
a
using the realm of Sobek
counterplay.
teams. This is 60GT. They now know how many marches are there, and you could start to see some of the 60GT marches actually start walking back to the structures. So the Desert Storm allowed them to rotate a little bit faster, which is great for them, but they can still disrupt this arc, and they still do have 4 altars. So I mean,
4
it is
altars?
a good play from 60GT.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo.
It
You
is a good
can't
play from
sustain
60GT.
that diff for long if you want to remain in the game.
Exactly. It's going to be so hard because even though they can see the marches, there are still marches that are there, and all these marches have to do is sit there and look pretty and threaten the steal, because at status quo 732A are 820 points to 210 points per minute right now. So it is still heavily in 732A's favor, even with the resourceful play of 60GT using Desert Storm to counter the sneaky tactics.
And the funny thing is, remember how I said that 732A knows there's a to the death play in GT's pocket? We all assume that anyways, and I think it's the most logical assumption. Given that, even just stalling here makes sense, because they can stall this arc and stall the next arc. It could just be enough to stall it out, even if GT wins the next arc. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean,
it's not just about winning the next mid fight as well. They have to win it and take the arc home. And look how long it's taking. Carrier falls. So, let's say it's at best 2 more minutes of walking here, and then 8 minutes of arc spawning in again. There's only 6 minutes to score the next arc at that point. So they're really on the clock to get these points in. And the more they're on the clock, the more it's going to sort of slip away from them. Right? So 890 to 100 points per minute. So
60GT, the arc carrier is lost right now, Chisco. The thing that 7328 did is they took the closest structures that the arc can capture. So they took the outpost, they took the Shrine of War, they took the Desert Altar. It looks like they will be capturing this in the outpost. So
yeah,
they will get this arc to be captured, which is absolutely huge for them. But with the Desert Altar, Sky Altar taken by 732A, it is 890 points per minute to 70, Chisco.
I'm a little uncomfortable.
890 points to 70.
Lotto. Ambushers on their way to the carrier.
Oh my goodness.
If 732A finds a way to score this arc at the outpost,
that is going to be
more troops coming for 732A.
If 732A somehow pull this off, it's a slap. It's a slap on the face. This should be 60GT's arc to come back. This is even
it's a double C garrison.
It's not even an arc.
Double C's getting
to be in the
cooked.
lead. Oh my goodness.
Joe now captain.
I mean,
like I said, the delay is enough here to be meaningful. They just delay this amount again. It's GG. Even if they use to the death to guarantee they can get the arc, and it's not a guarantee.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting one. They did take back their altars. So they're going to insta-capture this arc. I'd be super interested to see the point differential between these two teams. It should be around a 3k point differential. So there's still hope for 60GT with this third arc that we've been hinting at. They are down by 3.3k essentially. The next arc will be worth 4k. They have provisioners out on the open field, although it does look like 732A have more. There is a glimmer of hope for 60GT though. They were able to take back the Desert Altar, the Sky Altar. This is absolutely huge. Now
it feels like there's too much that GT needs to do though. They need
There
to
is a lot.
provision. They need a building situation to be fixed. They're losing by 500 points a minute over here. Yeah. So the closeness of an arc is not enough now.
Yeah, I mean they have to hold the Sky Altar 1, the Desert Altar 2.
732A. Just really sticking it to him with the rally ability popped again.
Just a consistent stream of marches, of rallies, of pressure from 732A. Pretty much omnipresent on these altars at all times. It has been a clinic with how much pressure they've been able to put. And because of that, at least in this top side of the map, I feel like there hasn't really been too much aggression on the Desert Altar. It's like the best defense is a good offense, and you could start to see that coming to fruition with the Sky Altar 60 GT getting swarmed down, getting rallied down yet again. And I think that's why they're super comfortable having these infantry rallies, which you usually wouldn't see due to the slow march speed. This hard push, giving them that increased 50% march speed to get from point A to point B. Those rallies are speedy. Making sure that they tank up, that they do the damage, they do the debuffs, while also tanking the main garrison damage, while the swarmers do the damage to the garrison. This is going to be an absolutely huge hold for 60 GT. If 60 GT lose the Sky Altar, it could essentially mean losing the ability to come back from this game. And my goodness, like this
has really cost them the number of times they've lost this Sky Altar. And I can empathize, having been a Sky Altar garrison, about what the consequences really are for this many flips on this garrison. It's pretty brutal.
Yeah, that was an absolute... it's a soul crusher for 60 GT, because there was a path to come back. Now you could see the lead Chisco. It is getting to that 4K point mark where even if they capture the arc, it wouldn't matter. I think with that Sky Altar, they would have been at the cusp. But now that the Sky Altar has been taken, there's a garrison in there as well, just to put insult to injury. The fact that their opponents are denying points and perhaps even generating points in a minute here on that Sky Altar, it's looking more and more and more like this game is getting out of 60 GT's hands.
There's only so much they can do, and this is the power of being the leader on the board. It's impressive to see 732A do the thing I've talked about for years, really flexing the advantage of having a lead. And it's not an accident, right? Like, none of that was an accident. They used to the death in the first arc to give themselves the lead. Then they've got hard push as the punish as the follow-up. They've got sneaky tactics as the punish as the follow-up to kind of delay. And the counter to sneaky tactics isn't enough. It's just not enough. Desert Storm revealed the marches, but they still get the all damage boost, right? So it's a cute but not as efficient answer to that particular maneuver. And I love that 732A for that second arc just pushed the buildings. It was a really good play. The thing I say literally every time the second arc rolls around and there's a point leader.
Yeah, I mean, they could pick and choose their battles, and they definitely chose the right thing to do there. And the thing is, even before Sneaky Tactics was popped, even if Sneaky Tactics wasn't popped, like, it didn't really matter because the altars already fell. And the altars fell because they over-indexed in mid, and that's not their fault. They needed to win that mid fight. They needed to win that arc. But that's why we were saying earlier, Chisco, right, that 60 GT had to play that perfect. They had to put the exact amount of marches on their Sky Altar, on their Desert Altar. And even though they were able to see how many marches were mid, it didn't matter because they already had too many marches mid to begin with. So that is how this lead has ballooned to this 4.1k lead with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 provisioners out for 732A.
Yeah. Yep. Because at this point, they don't really need to take buildings. Like, it helps if they do, obviously, but the guaranteed points are a lot better than the possibility of points.
Yeah.
And we see,
I mean,
folks massing up for mid.
I think 732A, they know, even if they lose this mid fight, which is still up in the air. We don't know if they will lose this mid fight. As long as they hold their structures, as long as they provision more, even if 60GT capture this arc, they still win the game. And that is such a powerful position to be in.
Dust up activated. Mirrored. What is the final skill for each team? It's to the death for 60GT.
There have been games, Chisco, where 60GT actually didn't run to the death. I'd be surprised if they didn't do it here, but
if they don't have the death on the bar, they are in trouble.
Yeah, 100%.
Because they need to clean this arc fast and then score it. And so it's got to be a quick maneuver here.
I mean, we will have to see what they have on this bar. It's...
Even then, like, they may have already lost on all the other factors, the provisioning and the buildings. Even with this arc, right? Like, you can see, like, the leaderboard diff here is it's really close.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact... Oh, there you go. What is... Oh my goodness, they are sending their marches. Oh, wait.
Master strategy now being cast.
They're sending the marches that they sent mid to the top sky altar. So they're saying, screw mid. We're going buildings, baby. We have the opportunity. We have the lead. You can take this arc for all we care.
I love that they're doing the thing that I've been saying for years was the way to go, and they're just doing it. Dude, these guys are doing all the things I've been talking about. Just push the buildings.
I mean,
right? That
leverage your lead.
Yeah.
Why play into 60GT's hands? You know that they didn't use to the death yet. You know that that's the one way they come back.
That's what I said, right? Is like, what if they have a way
100%.
to mitigate to the death? And they just did. They're like, fine, have to the death in your bar. Sucks to suck. You never got to use it. This is honestly a meta-breaking moment. I don't know if everyone realizes how meaningful what has happened today is. But to the death first arc now becomes the play, unless someone has an answer to what just happened for the next two arcs. The sneaky tactics, good luck, you can't counter that. They had the answer to sneaky tactics. It didn't matter. So that's not enough. I don't think there's an answer to this. I think this is new meta, actually. Yeah, I think to the death first arc is new meta.
This is ideal gameplay from, like, pristine gameplay from 732A. Like, the fact that, I mean, you have to be trusting your leaders, right? Oh, to the death. There you go. To the death was used by 60GT and is used to defend their desert altar. Like, that's what they use to the death for. And I mean, it's just absolute trust from 732A. 732A and their members towards their leadership, saying, you know what, we trust you. We even though, like, you know, some teams would be like, we don't want to give up mid. There's an opportunity, blah blah blah. They believe in their leadership. They just wholeheartedly just go towards whatever objective that they set, and that is kind of the victory for success for them, is the fact that they've been able to pull off these uncanny plays that we haven't seen, at least in the international server. Yeah, but just saying, hey, like, we believe in whatever this building game is. We believe in, you know, using to the death in the beginning. We believe in all of this so that we can get this win.
Now, with all this said, okay, GT, they're probably feeling pretty rocked right now by everything that went down in this match. But if they lose, which they haven't lost yet. There's still 4 minutes left, although I think it's unlikely for them to win, given everything we've seen so far with regard to provisioning. But if they lose, they still are in the lower bracket. And they're still an extremely skilled team that has had a lot of experience adjusting to enemy teams and coming back and getting wins after that. So I think if there's a team that can figure out how to adjust, it's GT. And I would expect that in the next round, in their sort of lower bracket match, if that's where they end up, that they will still be hitting real hard.
I will say, Chisco, like that is true. 60 GT. I'm looking at the bracket right now. You know what? If 60 GT lose this match, do you know who they're fighting?
No, who are they fighting?
Do you want to guess?
489.
60 GT is fighting 489.
Ah, that's unbelievable.
So that would be the Grand Prix finals of 2023 last season in the first stage of the losers bracket. What is going on in this Grand Prix, Chisco?
I think what you're seeing is preparation, right? Like, how does 732A know that they can cook? Because they've been cooking in practice matches. Chat was saying 3 to 4 times a week. Right? Like, that's how you go into a match like this, throw down a new meta, and actually stick the landing. Because you already know before the match has even started that your strategy is superior.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about how in the beginning of the match, we at least I saw 60 GT as favorites, and how 732A will have to play differently than the bog standard that 60 GT kind of has cemented itself to playing. By the way, look at the score. That was just off of
Provisions.
That was just off of provisions. They got like 3K, I think, from provisions.
Chat was saying that GT got outplayed. I don't know that is that outplayed or
they got out macroed. There's difference between micro and macro, right? Micro
it's
is
the strategy. Like they had an inferior strategy.
100%.
Right? Like, I don't know at an individual level if we say one team's gameplay is better than another. Right? But like the strategy from 732A was undeniably better. It just was a better strategy. So good that I'm saying I think it might actually just be the meta.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the strategy that was just employed is it takes a lot of leadership and a lot of coordination. Like you have to, have your team fully buy in. You have to have your team consistently push those structures and objectives and consistently put pressure, which is why 60 GT just could not find the answers.
They were denied answers. They had the answer in their pocket the whole time. It was to the death. But because there were 2 good ways to dodge having to face to the death, 732A just used theirs first and then dodged the other 2 opportunities for GT to use it. GG.
That was what a high level.
Look at this leaderboard too. It just feels like it keeps expanding.
This was absolute class from both teams. 60 GT playing standard, but playing standard against 732A is not enough with how they played that match.
Yeah, chat says big brain. Here's my thought on this one. All right. Although GT takes a loss here, they're not out. They're good at adjusting.
7K in provisions.
Yes. So, oh my God.
Provisions.
And 4,700 on the other side too. Like, it's not like GT slacked on provisions. 7K is nuts, chat says.
I mean, they had 15 provisioners out at the same time. I will say that. Like, it's insane.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this last match, right? Where once you have a point lead, if you decide to go defensive, it's easier from a walking distance standpoint. You just don't need as many marches committed to that. You send them provisioning. GG's.
Yep.
Wow, what a game!
GG's.
Well, if you enjoyed the stream, throw a like on here, subscribe to the channel. Plato, I don't think we have any other games we're casting today, do we?
Yep, we are done for today. But tomorrow we are continuing on the casts. So be sure to subscribe to this channel, the official Rise of Games channel. If you like the casts, be sure to subscribe to Chiskel. You know, myself, Plato, Dirty Dan. We had Brian Koo as well in the description. And we'll catch you guys tomorrow for those games.
Amazing. Until next time, my friends, you have fun smashing the kingdom. We'll see you tomorrow, bright and early. The casting begins.